Hey, welcome to Two Old Geeks. I'm Rob.
And I'm Trace. And today we're talking about
Lord of the Rings.
That's right. I love Lord of the Rings. What about you?
I'm a fan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you notice anything different about me today?
No, not really.
Nothing at all?
No,
You sure?
maybe the sword.
Yeah, that's it. Now, this is my Comic-Con outfit for this year. And I'm going as Gandalf the White, which you would know if you knew Lord of the Rings. And my wife is going to go as Galadriel, and my son-in-law Corey and my daughter Eve is going to go as Aragorn and Arwen, if they finish their costumes. And my grandson, which you will be seeing later in this video, and who is in the thumbnail, is going as Frodo, and he makes a perfect Frodo.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So anyway, let's see. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a Lord of the Rings fan are you?
I am not as big a fan probably as you are. My fandom comes in the Tolkien area, not so much the theatrical movies, but I like the books and the history and all the work that he put into it.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the books first. First of all, the author, Tolkien, he came out with these books in 1954. And I read them when I was in junior high. When did you read them?
Later.
Later. And I'm a huge fan of his work. I mean, they're classics. I'm actually rereading them now, and they still hold up to the test of time. You could read Tolkien 100 years from now, and it would still be relevant. He was a genius. I mean, he used to create languages when he was a kid, just for fun.
That's what I find interesting is he created these languages and then created Middle Earth so he'd have a place to put the languages he created.
Yeah.
He didn't create the languages for the story. He created the story for the languages.
He had a very interesting life. I mean, unfortunately, he had to fight in a war. He was in World War One. He was in a huge battle. Lasted about 3 months. There was about over 50,000 Britons that died. And he got trench foot and just horrible conditions. He took some of those things that he experienced in the war and he put them into the book. The book took like 10 years plus to write.
Right.
Originally, Lord of the Rings was to be one book, just one huge book. And the publisher wanted to break it down into the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and Return of the King. And originally, the last book was Tolkien wanted to call it The War of the Ring. But since the world had just come out of a war, they didn't think that people would want to read about war. They didn't want war in the title, so they had him change it, and they changed it to Return of the King. Tolkien never was happy with that because he felt like it gave away too much of the story, and he was right. Because Tolkien's most always right. But there's a lot of wisdom in these books, and they are timeless. And if you haven't read them and you enjoy to read, it would definitely be something for you to check out. I mean, really, he's the father of modern fantasy. I mean, without him, we wouldn't have, what? Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
The Witcher, Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, all of those things.
Actually, the people who created Dungeons and Dragons said they kind of based it off Tolkien's writings.
I mean, I mean, he's considered by most to be the father of modern fantasy. But I mean, you're a big fan of mythology,
right?
And, dwarfs and elves and goblins. They all existed before Tolkien created the Lord of the Rings, but he put them together in a way that hadn't been done.
Right.
And so having a medieval world where the race of elves and dwarves and halflings and men lived together, that was really unique, and it's still being copied today.
Mm-hmm.
And so the books really kicked off in popularity in the 60s. Some pirated paperbacks came about in the 60s, and a lot of the hippies at the time loved to do LSD and then read Lord of the Rings to each other. Tolkien wasn't a big fan of that, but really kicked off. Now, a lot of people consider these the first adaptation, the Peter Jackson movies, the first adaptation of Lord of the Rings, but that's not true. There was a animated series.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you remember anything about it?
It was done by Rankin, same guy that done worked with Rankin and Bass, did a lot of cartoons back in the 70s. I can't say who the voice actors were, but yeah, I couldn't think of anybody better to have done it back then.
I know one of them just passed away recently. The one that did the voice of Frodo.
Oh.
And, but I mean, you go back and watch them, and the animation's a little dated, and some of the interpretations, the animated interpretations, aren't my favorite of some of the characters. But I mean, that was our first kind of. I saw those before I read the books.
One of the scenes that's in the cartoon where they're hiding underneath the tree, and that thing's looking for them. Mm-hmm. That's used in the movie. Mm-hmm. It never was in the book.
Oh yeah.
He took that from from that animated version of it. Yeah.
See, I learned something today.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, they were too old. So the books are fantastic. Please read those if you get a chance. The Peter Jackson movies come now. Nobody had made a live adaptation of Lord of the Rings, and Peter Jackson took on that task. And it was a huge task to take this written material and switch it to the movies. It was a huge task, and because everything doesn't translate well. And I thought the movies were fantastic.
Yeah, well, they were awesome. They go not fantastic because of the adaptation, but because of the work that Weta Workshop done, the people that done the backdrops, everything. I mean, it was just spot on, beautiful.
Yeah, the guy that played Gandalf said, there was details in his costume. Ian McClellan said there was details in his costume that didn't show up on film that you couldn't see.
Yeah.
But he knew they were there, and they really helped him get into the character. And now there's a group that I belong to online called Middle Earth Rangers Forum, and I got this T-shirt from them a few years ago. But they're a great group of men and women, and they're fans of Tolkien. And like I said, they're called the Middle Earth Rangers Forum, and I'll have a link in the description. But they're huge Tolkien fans, and in particular the Ranger class from Tolkien. And I've been reading their posts over the years, and they're very divided. There's one group that likes the films, but most people in that group tend to like the books. And they don't like the films. They don't like Peter Jackson's films because they're not an exact translation. Well, I've read the books and I've read the films. I mean, I've seen the films. And the thing is that you don't have to like one or the other. You can like them both. I mean, these are literary classics and these are cinematic classics. There was characters he left out of the book. That's true. But in my mind, it was a good choice. There was a character in the books called Tom Bombadil. And he was kind of overpowered halfling type. I mean, it seemed like J.R.R. might have been Tolkien when he was writing that, I mean, it was kind of out there character, and leaving him out of the movies, I think was a good choice. Arwen is barely mentioned in the books, but she's fleshed out in the movies. So, you got different art forms here, the literary and the cinematic, and it's apples and oranges, and even though they're fruit, you need to kind of approach them different.
Well, they play off different parts of your mind. One is more of a visual, while the other one you're creating the world in your mind with someone's words. Tolkien had a beautiful way of doing that, but there's a lot of people that nowadays rely on seeing something. That's why we have YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have to like one. You don't have to like one or the other. You can like them both, but. Peter Jackson movies, I think one come out in December, the next one come out the following year in December, and the next one come out in February. But they were all filmed at the same time. I can't imagine how close those people got, the actors,
right,
working that length of time. And really, that was really one of the first times a trilogy had been filmed that way. And to me, this is the best cinematic trilogy of all time, in my opinion.
Now, did they do Back to the Future back to back like that?
They might have done some of those. Yeah, they might have done some
I was thinking they done some of those at the same time.
But I mean, these movies I've watched every year since they came out. They come out quite some time ago, and they really hold up. And these books hold up. But Peter Jackson translating all of this into this did an amazing job. I don't think anybody could have done it except for Peter Jackson. And
you know who else wanted to do it?
Who?
The Beatles.
Oh, seriously?
Back in the 50s, they wanted to do an adaptation, a film version.
Yeah.
John Lennon wanted to play Gollum.
Oh, really? Wow, I'm really glad they did.
Yeah,
do that.
you and me both.
You're right. And
so be grateful for Jackson.
Yeah. So I've had the chance of meeting Sean Astin, who played Samwise Gamgee, and it was an ordeal meeting him. I mean, nicest guy you could ever meet. But we stood in line for like 3 hours, and then he had to take a lunch break, and then we came back and had to stand in line like another hour. But it was worth it. I mean, 4 hours standing in line. But he was the nicest guy you could imagine. And so it was a pleasure meeting him. And hopefully I'll get to meet some of the other actors and get my movie poster signed as we go on. And let's see, anything else? First of all, there's been tons of merchandise made. Playmate made a whole line of toys back in the day. But there's still being merchandise made today. Mego, who we're big fans of Mego.
Oh, big fans.
We had Mego toys since we were little kids. Mego toys have good articulation, cloth clothing. Now they're not high quality like some of your $200 action figures that you see today. But if you spend $200 on an action figure, you're not going to let a kid play with it.
There's a definition of quality, though. There's detail quality, and then there's durability. Because I've still got a Mego from when I was a kid, and I put it through heck.
Yeah, I've still got some of my old Megos too. But this is a new one they're coming out with. They've got Aragorn, and then they got Leglos. And they say that they're going to be working on a Gandalf. And I actually ordered these back well before December. And they just recently come in. I actually ordered them for my grandson for Christmas. But they didn't come in time. So he'll be getting those later. But what I like about Mego is these toys were like $10 or something. They're meant to be played with.
Right.
You take them out of the box, you get underneath the tree, you stick them in the mud. I mean, you throw them underneath your pillow. I mean, they are meant to be played with. So, anything else you want to add about the movies, or the books, or anything?
Not at the moment. What are we pointing at?
Oh, I guess I have some figures back here that were made by, I'm not even sure who made those figures. NECA made those figures. They come out with and they're really the only Lord of the Rings figures I have. The real huge ones. You got Leglos here.
Well, I don't know. I kind of like these little blind bag
You got
things.
Aragorn. You got Gandalf, and they actually have sound cards in them with the real actor's voice. For some reason, there's like today, some of the Avengers toys, when you push them, they don't have the actual actor's voice.
Well, they don't have to pay them royalties.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, but they actually have the actor's voice. But the movies are fantastic. Do you think they could make those movies today? Do you think they could make them today? Do you think they can make these movies today?
What do you mean by making them today?
Well, here's what I mean.
They can make them. I don't know if they can make them with the same style or same.
I don't think they can make them today. And here's what I mean. Today's has a very woke culture, a very SJW culture. Here's my idea of what would happen if Peter Jackson brought this to a movie studio to make today. They would look at it and they would say, seems like all the Fellowship are male. Maybe we could have Aragorn stay home and Arwen actually be part of the Fellowship. And they would look at it and say, looks like to me that all the Fellowship is white. We're like, yeah, we got dwarves and we got elves. Yeah, but they're all white. Maybe Legolas could be a dark elf. You know, or they'd say, what about the sexual orientation of the Fellowship? Well, you know, that's not really part of the story. Yeah, but you know, Gimli likes dwarven women who have beards. What if he just liked anybody who had beards? Today, they want to ruin everything by this forced diversity. And I find it amusing, and I laugh a lot with a lot of new movies. I mean, Hollywood. This was made when Hollywood was true to the source material, as true as they could be, and they didn't throw in a bunch of forced diversity. And proof of this will be the new Amazon series. Amazon's coming out with Lord of the Rings series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Amazon Prime. It's going to be a prequel to these movies.
Now, is it from Tolkien's writing?
Yes, and they've actually have cast. Who's going to play Galadriel and who's going to play Sauron, and so it's a prequel, and I'm really, really excited about it. But what's the chance of them getting it right? What's the chance of them getting it right and not screwing it up? What's the chance of them not having forced diversity? I'd say slim to none, because it seems like today we don't concentrate on a good story. We go down through a checklist. You know, The Hobbit, which we will talk about at a later time, the Hobbit book and the Hobbit films, had no female cast in the entire book, or in the entire, I mean, they had it in the movie, but there was no female in the entire book. Well, then we couldn't do that in 2020, because, you know, hey, that wouldn't be right. But yet, be true to your source material. If it's an all-female film, let it be an all-female film. If it's an all-male film, let it be an all-male film. You don't have some cultural or social checklist that you have to go down. You can go down it if you want. You're going to lose money and people are going to laugh at you like me. But hey, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want. So, let's see. How about we get my grandson in here? All right, come on in here. Come in here, Frodo. All right, way to go. All right, you look awesome. Look at the camera.
Let's see Sting there.
Okay, Uncle Robot's got some questions he's going to ask you.
All righty. So, are you ready for Comic-Con?
Yes.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Cool. So, who is your favorite Lord of the Ring character?
I don't think I have one.
Oh, so you pretty much like them all.
Yes.
Awesome. So, somebody was telling me, actually, I've seen it. You do an awesome Smeagol, or is it Gollum?
Gollum, yeah,
Gollum.
Yeah.
So, let's see your Gollum.
Oh, that's pretty good. Better than
Now,
nothing.
here's what I like. Check out the ring. He's got the ring and all. This is a pretty.
You get your Comic-Con post down?
Yep. Oh yeah. Let me hold that.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Me and Ronan, we've been watching the films, and I got the extended edition, so each one of them's 3 hours. So that's 9 hours of movies. This guy can only sit still for about a half an hour at a time. So that's what we've been watching, a half hour at a time. We're through the first film and through the majority of the second film. And you've really been enjoying them, right? I showed him Star Wars, and he kind of likes Star Wars, but you really like Lord of the Rings, right? Yeah. He just really took to it. And the good thing about Lord of the Rings is it has a beginning and a middle and an end. And a lot of movies now seem like they peter out toward the end, but that's not the case with Lord of the Rings. And it'll be classic. Old men enjoy it, and young men enjoy it. So anyway, I'm glad you joined us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click like, and click the notification. And on the 28th, we're going to be at the Comic-Con in Lexington. And so we'll be posting another video then. And,
Live, right? Are we going to do it live?
We're not going to do it dead. That would be depressing.
That would be depressing.
So anyway, we'll see you then. All right. Bye. All right. See ya.
You done? I'm done.
I think I'm done.